Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a few different people ask me what I thought about this, if I would cover it, so I had to actually go look it up. But apparently, several college football players up in Oregon have been diagnosed with Rhabdo. I'll put the full name of the condition in the title because it's way too much to pronounce for me. And let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing. Do a little bit of crafting and let's talk about this, because this is one of those interesting things, because this gets confused a lot with overtraining, but it's always funny when people say things like there is no such thing as overtraining, when overtraining is actually a long-term chronic condition, and Rhabdo is actually a short-term condition that can be inflicted upon the body and medically diagnosed in the hospital by a doctor from a single workout or training session. Now, so what happened here, they had hired a new strength and conditioning coach because his team had done really terrible to help get them into better shape. And he did almost, they're saying, like a boot camp type workout. And several of the players had to go to the hospital and were diagnosed with Rhabdo. Some of the signs of that include like kidney pain, rusty colored or what appears to be blood in your urine, things like that within a few hours or the next day after a training session, usually combined with extreme soreness. Now, it needs to be pointed out there, yeah, that is a big deal because conditioned athletes generally don't get sore from training. All right, their bodies are well conditioning to handling fairly high workloads. They have good recovery usually. Their body's efficient at adapting and recovering. So they don't really get sore during normal workouts. So what happened here is that this strength and conditioning coach pushed them beyond their limits. And people have this weird idea in the training world that no pain, no gain, that you should push yourself beyond your limits, as if going way beyond your limits somehow makes you bigger or stronger or better. No, it actually doesn't. It's actually a slower process than knowing the right amount to train. The right amount to train. Because the human body adapts to very small increases, meaning if you want to get bigger and stronger, add 1 pound to the bar. Hey, maybe next week add another pound to the bar, or 5 pounds. Add a rep. Maybe add a set. This is how we periodize things. Periodization adds things in little small elements, because you know what? The human body thrives on very, very small changes. In fact, really small changes in your training workload, training intensity, workload density, things like that, little bitty changes, like 1% changes, actually your body adapts to those really well. Your body tends to respond extremely well to small changes. When you push your body just a little bit further than you have pushed it before, guess what happens? Your body steps up its ability to deal with that new 1% or 2% shift in workload. You know what? It tends to make muscle fibers shift in their properties. It makes muscle fibers thicker, so the muscles get bigger as a result of that. It improves capillarization to clear waste products. Your body makes physical adaptations to respond to very small changes over time. And that's really the best way to do it. That is the most time-proven, time-effective method of making someone bigger, stronger, faster, better. You don't have to push them all the way to their limits. You've just got to keep moving them forward. And most people know that. You want to get better at the squat or the bench press? Slowly add weight over time. When you can't add weight, add reps. When you can't add reps, add a set. Or back down and restart the process. Little bitty changes over time, done consistently for months and years on end, is a guaranteed foolproof method of getting bigger and stronger. All right, foolproof method. Little micro changes, tiny changes. Same thing with running. You want to get better at running long distance? Add a little bit every time you run. All right, that's all you have to do. It's still progressive overload. It's progression. You want to get better at these things, make little small changes. If you can only run 400 yards and run 400 yards, try to run 500 yards next time, then maybe 600 yards next time. Maybe you'll get to a mile. When you get to a mile, try to run 1.1 or 1.2 miles. But you don't jump in and go from only being able to run a mile and being winded at the end to trying to run 5 miles. That's stupidity. The body doesn't adapt well to that. The body adapts to little small changes. And it's very, very good at doing so, meaning it's the way to guarantee that your body will keep getting better, keep pressing forward, just to add just a little bit more. But when people come in and they say, okay, we're just going to shock the body, we're going to do a 2 hour long workout, because that's what this guy was having people do, doing something like push-ups and sit-ups for like an hour straight. All right, when their bodies are nowhere near that, if they have only ever done that for 20 minutes straight, it's stupid to do it for an hour. If you've only ever done something like that for 20 minutes straight, and that's what you're conditioned to, you should try to do 21 minutes. Maybe 22 minutes. But no, he takes them to an hour just out of nowhere. Again, stupidity. No competent coach would ever do this to an athlete, particularly an athlete whose scholarships are on the line, whose professional career is on the line. Yeah, that's stupidity. They have no business doing something like that with athletes who aren't paying them for a boot camp so that they can feel like they did something. These are athletes who have their futures on the line. You don't fuck with people's futures like that because you're an idiot who doesn't know anything about how the body adapts. All right, you can do that with a bunch of housewives and shit who pay money to get sore and not get any progress to feel like they did something. Can't do that to serious athletes. You'll fuck them up. And the school felt the same way because they fired him. They fired him over this incident, and rightly so, because they probably had their professors and other strength and conditioning coaches out there who said, yeah, this guy's an idiot. He has no business training actual serious competitive athletes. And that's what happened. They cut him loose. They cut him loose. And that's what people need to remember. Anytime you do something that you think is going to shock the body, like Rich Piana's 8-hour arm workout. I mean, stuff you see like that, that's fucking stupidity. That's how you get Rhabdo. And if you don't understand what the Rhabdo means, it is traumatizing the muscle through excessive workload to the point to where it's leaking the muscle tissue's content into your bloodstream. All right, think about that. Your gains, the tissue proteins and everything that make up those muscle fibers are splitting open and tearing down and leaking into the bloodstream. So when people talk about tearing down muscle fibers, that's not a real thing like you guys are thinking about. I kind of broke that down the other day. Tearing down muscle fibers, actually tearing down muscle, gives you Rhabdo, and you leak protein out of those muscle fibers into your bloodstream. So not only do you potentially lose a little muscle mass through damaging it and get extremely sore, you then put a stress on your kidneys because it's having to filter proteins that have hit the bloodstream, and your body doesn't handle that well. People don't realize that when you're consuming protein doesn't reach your bloodstream. It breaks it down into amino acids. These are still complex molecules, these chains of amino acids that your body isn't prepared to deal with, that your kidneys have to filter out as a toxin. Because there's no digestive system there to break them down further for you. It's just free-floating proteins. And foreign proteins running through your bloodstream is actually very, very dangerous. It can damage your immune system. It can cause damage to certain organs, and in this case, your kidneys. You can damage your kidneys from this. So yeah, you can actually train hard enough to the point to where it seems like you're urinating blood and you're putting stress on your kidneys and possibly damaging them. So this whole idea that you can't push yourself too hard is complete bullshit. I mean, this is medically diagnosable, and these athletes almost could have had their futures ruined by this stupidity. But what people need to understand with that is that this is not overtraining. Overtraining is not an action. Rhabdo is caused by a single acute, which means a short-term action. A single workout can cause this. Overtraining is a systematic-wide thing going on in your body to where for weeks or months you have repeatedly pushed your body beyond its ability to recover without ever allowing it to recover. And when that happens, you develop what's called overtraining syndrome. So people need to remember that overtraining is no more an action than AIDS is. All right, AIDS isn't an action. You don't AIDS. Just like you don't overtrain. It's a syndrome. And overtraining is a syndrome that is caused by repeatedly pushing yourself beyond your limits. You don't have to get Rhabdo level pushing, by the way. You won't be able to reach overtraining with Rhabdo because your body will give out and stop you before you can actually reach that point, because it's way too much from a single time. You push way beyond what you could recover from, sometimes 2 or 3 times what you could recover from in one workout, and it fucks your body all up and messes with your kidneys and damages the muscle tissue by tearing it down. Overtraining is pushing just a little bit too far beyond your recovery abilities and doing it over and over and over for weeks and months at a time. And when overtraining syndrome kicks in, it is actually harder to recover from. it can take weeks for you to recover from that. In some cases, there's been a couple cases of maybe people taking a couple of months to recover from overtraining. But overtraining is a syndrome to where your body is just no longer recovering. You start losing strength. Your nervous system gets weak. You can't contract muscles the way they're supposed to anymore because basically your peripheral nervous system is just giving out. It's just not recovering, and it's not able to actually recruit muscle fibers correctly. Your strength go down. It's like your 300-pound bench press might drop all the way down to 225. That could actually happen, and like a 225 will feel like your max when you used to hit 100 for a single or a double. All right, that's overtraining. Then your lower back cramps up every time you try to walk. Your body cramps when you try to sleep. Your resting heart rate goes way up. Your body's in extreme distress from long-term excessive pushing it beyond its limits. So people need to understand Rhabdo and overtraining are two different situations. One of them is an extreme acute short-term reaction in your body, and it's a medical condition diagnosable, while overtraining is a syndrome that's caused by chronic repeated pushing yourself beyond your limits without recovery and not giving yourself adequate recovery time. So two very similar but oftentimes confused medical conditions as a result of exercise and training. But Rhabdo is actually quite serious. It does happen sometimes, but it usually only happens when you're being supervised by an incompetent coach who really has no business writing training programs. And it's most likely to happen at things like boot camps or something to where people aren't put in a structured program. They just do a bunch of work randomly and push themselves way beyond their limits without weeks or months building up to that specific thing. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.